this tornado warning as well. Radar indicated nothing that has been confirmed on the ground necessarily, but once again, as we're putting another storm track on, since it is moving at 50, we can now put new information and new cities that are in the path of this. Now as it's moving up to 60 miles an hour, this thing's really starting to book.
Well, I'm just going based on the storm cells have been moving about 60, so this kind of gives you an idea why we're doing it this way.
I'm just going to look into National Weather Service chat for just 1 second, Pete.
Yeah, you go right ahead. Those of you, as we track this, we're basing it on the rotation actually of the rotation at the back of this thunderstorm. And actually this is part of a line of thunderstorm activity. The squall line has been moving through, and we expected the squall line to go anywhere between 11:30 and 1:30 in the morning across the metro. And this, we've seen a little bit of rotation with the line, but this is the well-defined, the first one we've seen to have such rotation like this. And this is why the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning until midnight with this area of the line. And you can see the red box there kind of give you an idea. So Independence, if this thing holds together, which it probably will, at least as a very strong line of thunderstorm activity, this is going to be an Independence area by 11:54. When you look at Buckner just after midnight at 12:06 and Oric around 12:11. All right, so I kind of give you an idea of that. And those of you in this path, and when I say not only just the path, but anywhere,
hey, Pete,
especially in the red. Yes, Brian?
Sorry to interrupt. We're seeing huge power flashes.
Okay.
Very close to the World War I Museum, so that's going to put it very close to Union Station, according to just one of my trained spotters who I definitely trust his reports coming in here. So that's just something else to keep in mind, that at least power flashes are starting to occur very close to almost Midtown or very close to the Crown Center area. And it's really difficult to see. I'm actually here in the Weather Center trying to look at our City View camera to see if I can see it myself, but some of it is lightning, but some of it could be power flashes as well. But it still looks like that's at least, it could be a brief touchdown. It could be a brief touchdown, and that's why we're saying definitely err on the side of caution for this particular line. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, and plus you've got the leading edge of that line also, so you've got a lot of factors playing into this. But yeah, let me put this shear rate back on.
Sure.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's now it's just near KU Med. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's the plaza. All right.
And remember, because it is moving at 50 miles an hour, I bet you this thing, the signature that we're looking at, this tight end may be skipping farther to the east, and so maybe that would justify that drone report of power flashes very close to the World War I Museum. So again, we also have a driving rain, so it could be rain wrapped. So again, I would say at this point in time, if you are in this vicinity from KU Med going farther to the east toward the Crown Center area, you should be in your precautions, definitely taking shelter just in case. It may dip down once again, but right now, at least the heaviest rotation is going from about Westwood. And as I mentioned, just like that, it's moving farther to the east. I'm going to step to this side, Pete, so you can put it right there. There you notice that rotation now is continuing to press farther at about 50 or 55 miles an hour. So this is now pretty much crossing county line. There's the 18th and Vine District. This is Prospect. So it is continuing to push farther to the east, and that would actually justify those power flashes that we could have seen very close to Union Station, which would be right about in here. So this is still an elongated area of rotation, is still showing up as at least a strong rotation as well. And this is beginning to head toward the Leeds area. At 50 miles an hour, it's probably going to continue to move from the Kansas side to the Missouri side. I also want to check on this side, if you can, for just 1 second, Pete. I want to see if there are other reports that are coming in here.
Okay. I'm going to zoom out just to let everybody get their bearings straight. And those of you just tuning in, we've watched this squall line move across eastern Kansas. It's now approaching the metro area of Kansas City. All of a sudden, one of those, and we've seen a little bit of light rotation in different pockets along that line of thunderstorms. And this one, no doubt, had stronger rotation. And because of the signature you're seeing in that green area, the National Weather Service did wisely issue a tornado warning with this because of the strength of this rotation. That red indicates the area that's under the tornado warning until 12 midnight. And Brian mentioned the reason why you see this thing jump is because by the time the radar collects enough data to get that confirmation of the rotation and then updates the software, and then it puts the new version on there. That's why you see it jump, but it's also because the storms are moving at a very quick pace. They've been moving almost the entire evening around 60 miles an hour to an east-northeast direction along that line of thunderstorms. So this is the one we're focusing on. Get your bearings straight. Looks like the rotation has moved across the state line. Now we're talking about into Missouri, obviously. I'm going to zoom it. You know what, Brian? Let me do one more storm track really quick with this.
Go right ahead.
I'm going to keep it at 60. I think that's a good safe number just to kind of give us an idea, because you know, based on when that updates, it really.
Let me step out of the way so you can do it cleanly. Go right ahead.
I'll go ahead and use that. So it kind of gives you around the idea. Independence now 11:55 and just past midnight, 12:08 in Buckner and Norrig.
And one thing, I was also looking at the chat. This is from the National Weather Service. Remember, they're the ones who issue the warnings. And they say they're probably going to let it expire at the top of the hour because these are brief spin-ups. But they're going to keep their eye on it just in case we get another report of a touchdown. David Keller, I don't know if you remember him. He's at our sister station up in Des Moines, probably visiting his family here in town. Said that, and of course he's a trained meteorologist, went to St. Louis University. He said that that rotation went over an area of Shawnee. No damage reports coming in quite yet, but there are some confirmed, or confirmation that is, at this time, or at one time, it was definitely moving through that neighborhood. Notice how, as it's moving through, the kind of maroon color that you see is not quite as prominent as it was even 5 minutes ago, but still moving primarily to the east. I would say right now, we can say the all clear on the Kansas side. So if you're in Johnson County on the Kansas side or Wyandotte County, it looks like things are, at least this rotation is moving away from you, but we still have a little bit of rain and we still have the front that's going to move through. I was looking at one other report that the winds have already turned around to the northwest out toward Leavenworth. That's an indication that the fronts move through. And once again, when we have that front pass through the region, that is it for the chances of severe weather, which is why now we're looking a little downwind to see exactly what is happening. So this is going to be very close to Leeds. So this is like Jackson and also Seven Oaks Park. So that's going to be toward the city itself with the rotation moving toward the east as well. So this is eventually going to head toward I-70, 435 eventually. But right now it appears that at this time, with 10 minutes left in this warning, and the rotation still being shown up here, this is still a tornado that is indicated by radar, and it still has had some indication that it is still moving. As you notice here, the sports complex, you can go back to that if you wanted to, Pete, because I know you're doing some Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I'm just checking a few little things here to see if we can, correlation coefficient, okay. No.
No debris?
No.
Nope.
I'm just navigating and checking a few elements. This is obviously the one that gives us the most focus when it talks about the rotation. One quick thing, just a reflectivity though. I want to see.
Go ahead, and I'm going to check some other reports that are coming in.
This kind of gives everybody a chance. When we talk about the squall line, this is very close to the cold front that's moving through. You can see how this is running. Okay, they've issued a severe thunderstorm warning with that now, Brian.
Right. I'm seeing that now.
So see how that just popped up? This is going to be northern Jackson County, of course. Severe thunderstorm warning until 12:30. All right, but the tornado warning, which is in the middle there with the red box area where the rotation is, and I'll put that back on for you. That's until 12 midnight. There you go. Kind of give you an idea now at the back edge of that that storm itself along the line, and your rotation obviously on the Missouri side, and this has been moving east-northeast direction around near 60 miles an hour.
And of course, you hear in the background, we have a no weather radio going off made by Midland Radio here in town. And so hopefully you have yours or some sort of way to get the warning from more than one source. So we have the weather radio, we have our app, which hopefully you've downloaded. And of course, so they're going to be, I have not seen if there are any power outages, hopefully not, but this is still, as mentioned, at the top of the hour, they're going to let this expire from a tornado warning, but they are going to keep an eye on it because still there's some structure and some rotation. So that's why they go downwind and are issuing a severe thunderstorm warning with the caveat, the potential that this thing may dip down once again and still cause at least some bits of a pitter-patter of the heart, that it is going to stay intact and continue to push off to the east at a very quick 55 to 60 miles an hour, which is why you definitely need to take it seriously, putting between you and the outside many walls as possible, protecting your head, going to the lowest level possible. And what that means is if you do have a basement, that's the best place to be. If you don't have a basement, lowest level of the lowest, or the lowest part of your lowest level, in other words, the middle, the interior, if at all possible as well. This is now, let me try to get my bearings, Van Horn High School. Okay, so that's going to be heading toward Independence eventually. Sterling Avenue, so yeah, that's heading toward Independence. This is also Truman High School, which is also right in
Truman,
the throes. Yeah. So because we have it zoomed into neighborhoods, this should show you where I-70 is. There you see north of 70, south 39th Street. So this is going to be very close, not too far away from Nolan eventually. Also heading toward, this is, okay, that's State. Trying to get my bearings here. There's Van Horn. Okay. So what this is going toward the western half of Independence for the time being. And one other thing that we're noticing is it's already past the sports complex, at least with the initial rotation. Can you just put reflectivity on for just a second and do a little analysis, Pete, just to see? So it's not quite a driving rain, but there is plenty of rain behind it, but it is the leading edge that has the rotation associated with it. So it still will be raining on a good portion of the city itself farther west, but the concern is still that this thing may dip down once again and cause another tornado warning to be issued. And they're still looking at it very carefully, just like we are here in the First Alert Weather Center. So yeah, we can go back to First Alert and putting it in animation mode. Here it is, and now the severe thunderstorm warning with the storm track is now going out for at least the portion of the cell that could have that rotation is a smaller chunk of this wider expansion, which is that new severe thunderstorm warning. But there could be winds of 60 miles an hour or greater associated with it. Not much in the way of hail, but as we said even at our 10 o'clock newscast when Neville and I were on before Pete and Brittany are coming in for the rest of the evening hours, that wind's going to be the number one threat, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a tornado. It could be winds of 60 miles an hour ahead of this system. I'll let you do a storm track. I'm just going to check some more information coming in from some of the spotters. Go ahead, Pete.
Go right ahead. And we're looking at this. I keyed this in to the very leading edge of the line of thunderstorms. And the line itself ahead of that, it has some very strong winds associated with it. Now, of course, when I click on to see where the rotation is, you can see it's right along about the same line area where the leading edge of that rainfall wall is. So we've got the time right on that. So moving at that speed, Buckner, it should be around your area at 12:10, 12:14 for Oric, Wellington about 12:22, and also those of you like in Richmond, if it holds together, it'd be about 12:23. And those of you like in Independence, just north of Blue Springs, areas just north of I-70. Those of you in Buckner, and like Brian mentioned this over and over, take this very seriously until we can give you an all clear that the rotation has dissipated or at least weakened to the point where it would not be considered tornadic activity. But with that rotation being rather strong, it has definitely caused some concern, and the National Weather Service did issue a tornado warning, and they made the right choice because we saw that rotation strengthen rather quickly in that area. Now here's the good news at this moment. If you look at it now, you don't see the dark red shading in that. See that green line? That's the areas of rotation. So from that last roundabout with the radar going around and scanning and getting the data, it's now telling us that at least on that radar sweep it came across, has weakened. The rotation has weakened. Now I'm not going to, let's don't get our hopes up high right now because I'm going to wait and see what next data we get to see if it continues on that track of weakening a bit. But they did issue this tornado warning until midnight, so we still have about 3 minutes left of that. And I'm sure just like what we're doing, those at the National Weather Service with their Doppler radar, they're also analyzing the same situation and same setup. But at the same time, those of you just ahead of this, Independence, especially eastern portions of Independence, you should be taking shelter, get in your shelter, turn up the TV loudly or however you're watching us, and we will let you know voice-wise, you can hear us when it'd be safe to return to the upper levels of your home and so forth. Let me take this off and we'll get another better look. Brian, got anything new you want to share?
Still looking, there are about 20 reports I'm going through, so just continue. Again, they're going to go for that severe thunderstorm warning with the potential that it could dip down once again, and that's why we're continuing the coverage. It is still, at least a lot of reports coming in, sirens are going off as well. But it does look like it's a little more elongated, not quite as strong as it was earlier. But that was what was going to happen with these cells, that they were not going to be, as I said on the newscast a couple of times, these aren't the ones that you see like in the movies depicted by Hollywood. These are not like the ones you see in Oklahoma that stay on the ground for a long period of time. These are the ones that are going to bounce and skip and not necessarily stay on the ground for longer than maybe 2 minutes to 5 minutes max. So just once again, just something to keep in mind. But the other thing I always say is if you're stationary and this thing is moving at 50 to 55 miles an hour, it'll affect your house for about 18 seconds. So if you can stay calm, know exactly what you need to do, interior, lowest level, protecting the head for 18 seconds and stay calm, you can survive one of these things. Ironic that it's happening at night on the anniversary of the Oak Grove tornado, but that's why we're hoping that you've heeded the warning. And that's also part of the reason why we're still on the air with it. This is now seeing at least the rotation is a little farther east of Independence. Some of the reports I'm getting from a lot of the folks and friends that I'm talking to via my cell phone here who are texting me with some of the information coming in here. Because that's the best thing. We have the radar, of course, but it's also good to have trained spotters out in the field who are saying what they're seeing as well. And the two are coming together that, yes, there's still some rotation. There's still something that's going on. Okay, Cabo Dama Arena. So this is going to be near 291 and I-70 to the north of that. So that is now going toward Independence. This is now also one of the paths of the severe thunderstorm warning is going to take it toward Blue Springs. And yeah, so if it's moving at 50 or 55 miles an hour, I hope Blue Springs, you're in your safe area right now. And eventually heading maybe toward Green Valley, and God forbid, so it would be deja vu, but it could be also heading toward the easternmost portion of Jackson County, which may include Oak Grove as well. Now, I will say this, it is not really that tight of a rotation, so it's not like 1.5 miles, 2 miles wide or anything like that, but it is still showing up. Pete, did you have something? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, what is happening here is I'm just looking at some of the other reports while they're still referring to the information that's coming in here. And so there are other severe thunderstorm warnings, but this is the only one that has to do with a severe thunderstorm that has the potential of the rotation coming through that could once again give us that signature that's showing up on radar. Not looking as impressive, but still, I'm going to stay with it, Pete. I think we should stay with it, although at midnight or so, that warning is set to expire, but they're going to keep this going until 12:30.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, out the corner of my eye, I see meteorologist Brittany Foster, who's in here as well.
Brittany is here, yes.
Okay, so there we go.
In fact, she stated she may have seen a.
I don't think it was a scud cloud. I think I did
I think
see
she
a
said
little bit of some
she
lowering.
actually
Okay.
said a
When
little
I was
bit of
driving,
funnel
I was about to take
activity.
the exit. It was a little bit before, right when I got on 435.
Yeah,
north
they're
and
discussing
49.
over
Okay,
there.
about what time was that?
I'm with
That's
Brian.
about
I think
maybe
we're
10
going to stay on
minutes
this
ago.
for a
10
little
minutes ago. Okay,
bit,
great.
simply because it's in the heart of the metro area. This thing is still showing a little bit of rotation with it. There at one moment it lined up perfectly with the bowing out part of that line. So there's obviously some pretty strong wind flow ahead of this line that's moving at 58 to 60 miles an hour. And those of you like in Buckner and Blue Springs, especially Green Valley, you're on the very southern edge of that part of the line. Now, even though you look west there, downtown Kansas City and on the Kansas side, they're still getting some moderate rainfall, but you can see how disorganized that's going to be. I'm not going to say you're completely in the clear, but when it comes to the threat of something that could cause a spin up, it's more focused now with that line that's now on the Missouri side. So those of you on the Kansas side, Overland Park, Shawnee Mission, I really truly think you're going to be okay, because I really don't see anything that's going to be too concerning, especially just west of this line that's coming through the metro and speed. When you take a broader view of this, you look at it as a whole and look at diagonal squall line of thunderstorms, going all the way from just west of Chillicothe up to Trenton, all the way down diagonally down to Gardner, Kansas there. That is one big line of thunderstorm activity, and we expected this to move through. Brian mentioned also these little spin-ups that can occur within that squall line of thunderstorms, and it's exactly what's happened with this specific area. And it's very easy to notice, especially right over the northern Jackson County into areas of Clay County, Liberty, Kearney. Can you see that visually? You can see how that just kind of sticks out. You know that's where the heaviest rainfall is. That's probably where the stronger wind flow is, especially a wind ahead of this line. And that's why you're going to get the strong winds here, Buckner, pretty soon. Liberty getting really hit with some heavy rain right now. Let me turn it back onto the share and see what. All right, now this is encouraging, but we're not going to, again, like we said earlier, when the signature weakened a little bit, we're going to keep an eye on this because, until we see this weakening consistently over several more data runs.
And considerably, too.
Yeah. So we'll take it when it looks weakened. However, we're not going to walk away from it. Let's put it that way.
So why don't we set the table and do a little wider inspection since the tornado warning was allowed to expire at midnight. And if they do decide to reissue it, we'll certainly go back to the one that's heading toward the eastern portion of Jackson County. And eventually, as you can see here, heading for Ray County as well. There we go. That's the reflectivity. If we see if there are any other warnings that are out there, this is the line and this is the front itself. Notice how you go farther west, totally clear. So this seems to be the biggest action. So it is this particular part. I don't see any others, although I just heard my phone go off with another warning that's coming in. Let me check what that is. And what that could be is canceling the tornado watch for a few counties. And that just bears out what we've been saying for a while, like Buchanan County, other areas to the north and west are being allowed to expire from this. So once this line passes through, that is the extent of the severe weather. And since now, again, all 6 of the meteorologists have been on duty with this cell, Brittany Foster is in, and she's going to be taking over in just a little bit. But Brittany, if you see anything on the computer system from spotters or from chat, which is on this monitor right here, be sure to yell it out. Okay, thank you. And you were saying there's some rotation that you were coming on in?
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of a funnel. It didn't look like it was a scud cloud. It looked like it was a little bit of a funnel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So this is still a fluid situation. Good news is that the rotation doesn't seem to be as organized as it was earlier, but this is the only one that the Weather Service seems to be concerned about. And right now, with the 3 of us here in the First Alert Weather Center, yours truly at the big board, Pete at the controls of the radar, now Brittany is on one of our computer systems to look at the spotter reports that are coming in. Remember, the National Weather Service are the ones who issue these warnings. We have emergency managers who are helping us with their spotters out in the field. So between media, the Weather Service, emergency managers, all 3 of us, our teams are working together to make sure that we continue to advance the story. So I guess the good news is the fact that as of midnight, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but still we're tracking that same cell as it was moving primarily to the east and northeast at about 50 or 55 miles an hour. So here are some of the cities. Hitting Excelsior Springs at about 10 after midnight. Oric at 10:14, so that's just in a handful of minutes as well. Odessa, south of the river we go. This will be hitting you at 12:21. Out toward Richmond, 12:22. Since they are moving pretty much from Jackson County into Ray County and some of those other cities. Pete, can you just see, I don't know if you can see the double box on the air. There are a couple other cities that are being hidden by your box, so I can't read which those cities are. If you could just move those estimated times of arrival even a little farther south. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that.
And moving a little farther closer to me because it's still being blocked by your video. Keep going, sir.
Oh.
There you go.
I
Lexington,
see what you're dealing with now.
at 12:27, thanks so much. And Hardin at 12:30 in the morning. Higginsville at 12:34. So those are just some of the estimated times of arrival for the leading edge. And it was that leading edge that did at least have that little bit of rotation, just a little bit of a notch. As we said before, these are going to be the kind that just kind of dip down, lift up pretty rapidly, don't stay on the ground very long, but still there have been at least some reports that are coming into the chat room here at the National Weather Service that at least governs the fact, or at least points to the fact that there was at least possibly a touchdown, brief touchdowns here and there. Power flashes that we saw from one of our spotters with his drone footage very close to the Liberty Memorial, so the World War I Museum. And we saw some of that on the horizon as well. So it does bear possibly that there could be power outages for one, and for two, we could have had a brief touchdown. And remember, the old myth is tornadoes don't hit cities. Well, if we're talking close to the Union Station and the World War I Museum, that's pretty much in the heart of the city. No confirmation, just going by trying to put 2 and 3 pieces together, and so that's kind of giving us a clearer picture of what's going on right now. We now have the rotation detector on, not quite as organized, more individual maybe clusters along that line, which is the cold front itself. And that's part of the reason also why the Storm Prediction Center, in concert with Pleasant Hill National Weather Service, decided to put those counties close to the city under this tornado watch. Remember, there was one over northwest Missouri, northeast Kansas. There's one down toward Bates County, not much in between. This is why. And so that's why I think it was very wise for them to put at least the city itself under that tornado watch. Stays in effect until 1 in the morning, and we'll see exactly if it decides to rear its ugly head once again, get reorganized. But right now, even with the thunderstorm still moving to the east so quickly, the gusts could be pretty strong, and it does not necessarily have to be a twisting wind of rotation. It could still be straight line winds from the tornado or the thunderstorm itself that could cause some issues and some damage out there. So Pete, let me just get a sip of water if I can, and
Okay.
we'll be back. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and you know, I keeping a close eye on the rotation now with the data that just came in again with the radar sweep going around. It looks like for the last 3 cycles of data that has slowly weakened, okay? So that's a good sign, all right? And this is looking a little closer to what it's looked like for most of the evening as we watch this line approach the metro area. And, you know, like I said, we have 3 systems in the Weather Center, and we keep these things monitoring and looking at them. And what we're seeing now, it is weakening, but that doesn't mean we're completely in the clear, because there's definitely, I think most of the severe thunderstorm warnings for this evening have been mostly wind driven, okay? We've had some hail, but not the severe thunderstorm warnings that were issued in the majority of the counties were based on the strength of the winds. You get wind speeds up to, you know, 60 miles an hour easily, and they issue these severe thunderstorm warnings. And of course, this case, you get just the right ingredients come together and bringing in the rotation, little spin-ups as we call them, especially along a line, a squall line of thunderstorm activity and severe thunderstorms with that. Now, the encouraging news is this is all doing with the cooler, drier air working its way in through a cold front. Things are going to be very quiet. Once this line moves through, we're definitely in the clear, and a very nice, quiet, cool conditions for all Saturday into Sunday. However, we got to keep a close eye, and I agree with Brian. I'm glad we're staying on here. Regardless, there is not a tornado warning at this time. The National Weather Service allowed that warning to expire at 12 midnight. However, when I turn the what we call reflectivity, the precipitation, back on the radar, see what we get? I mean, there's quite a bit of rainfall out there. The yellows and the reds are the heavy rainfall. You can see pockets of it down here just west of Lee Summit, a little red marking where it's going to be kind of a pretty good thunderstorm there. But when you look at Blue Springs, Buckner, all the way up to just east of Kearney and Liberty, that part of the line is pretty obvious how big that is, and that's the ones probably producing the stronger wind flow ahead of this line, along with the possible spin-ups, which would be the tornadic activity. And that's what we're looking, that's why we're concentrating on that. And that's the only severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect right now along this line of thunderstorms. I mean, look at it when I zoom back out. This line of thunderstorms stretches all the way from Bethany, Trenton, Chillicothe, down past southwest of Paola, Kansas. That kind of gives you an idea of this squall line that's moving in an east direction. But the only severe thunderstorm warning right now is that yellow box, and that's over in northeast Jackson County into southeast and eastern portions of Clay County, and beginning to move into western Lafayette County. So when you look at it, Also, those of you like in Ray County. So Richmond and Lexington, you're going to be getting some strong thunderstorm activity here fairly shortly. Buckner, you're in the heart of it right now, but let me turn this on to see what kind of rotation. Okay, see, it's still kind of a weak rotation right now. I like that. We hope it continues to be that way and slowly just kind of fade away. So there's a little bit there, but nothing like it was back around, what was it, about 11:40, 11:45 is when the rotation was at its strongest and the tornado warning was issued. So we definitely keeping an eye on that. So Buckner, I think once this moves on through east of you, things are really settling down. But when you live in Liberty, Kearney, Gladstone, Kansas City, Raytown, you're getting some pretty good heavy rain, but we're not detecting any more rotation along that line that's behind that. Let me put that back on. Yeah, see, you're getting the moderate rainfall like in western Jackson County down through areas just northwest of Raymore. But when I put the shear rate back on, no, we don't see any rotation at all. All right, so as of right now, our concentration is going to be over there.
Do you want to switch to green screen and I'll take over here for a little bit?
Do you want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and make a switch.
All right, I head that way. We're going
There's
to
that
change
for you.
positions. Okay. I got the weekend team.
Hello, yeah. It's been a while since I've
Thanks,
seen you, Pete.
Brittany. Brittany's coming in. What time you normally get here for your mornings? 2.
So just 2 hours
you
earlier.
came in early. Now, I'm not staying here until my shift, until later, but we are here to monitor the situation. This was all planned out. Chief Meteorologist Brian Busby had all 6 of us charted out of when we're going to come and ride this out with you. We've always made that promise that we will be here, keep you advised on what's going on anytime we have severe weather threat like this. You always depend on us to be here. And we've chosen to stay on and cover up the programming because this has not only been running through the metro area, but these are strong thunderstorms associated with this. And when you look at areas like Oric and Buckner down through Blue Springs, now Blue Springs is probably tapering off for you a little bit, but you're getting that heavy just north of I-70. You head towards Buckner and Oric. This is the one it's been moving about 60 miles an hour in an east-northeast direction. And you can see the extension of, like I pointed out earlier, quite a bit of rainfall associated with this. But when you look at this, and you're welcome anytime you'll go back and forth to the rotation. We just want to keep a close eye on that. Make sure it's still weakening just a bit. But this is what we call reflectivity. This shows you where the heavy rainfall is. That right there, no doubt, is some heavy rainfall in northeast. Okay. Don't see anything. The detector. No.
There you go.
There we go, right there. Now, Brittany, I don't know if you had a chance to really look at much before you just came in, but we saw a lot of this along the line that was moving across eastern Kansas.
Right.
Okay, and as it approached the metro area, and then all of a sudden that one area, the thunderstorm line, really created that spin up, and it was a well-defined rotation, and that's why the National Weather Service issued that tornado warning. They let it expire at 12 o'clock, but because we're still detecting this, we wanted to stay on a little longer just to kind of ride this out. And did you say you saw possibly a funnel cloud coming in?
Yeah, I don't think it was a scud cloud. It looked like it was a little bit of a funnel kind of coming down. So right when I got off 49 and jumped on 435 north. So right around close to the Grandview Triangle.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you, I'll put you on the spot. Were you, based on the analysis you did, because you were here earlier on Friday, is that right?
Oh, yes, yes, Friday morning.
Are you surprised by any of this? I mean, everything kind of lining up the way you had seen it with the models and everything?
Definitely think the timing overall is pretty close to what we were saying. And, you know, Nick Bender, as well as Katie Horner, were saying in the morning, I think, overall, you know, right around midnight is when we were showing that line of storms along the cold front moving through. So, I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Thankfully, only just that one warning. We're not seeing several right now, but I did want to give you a zoomed out view to just show you exactly the entire line of storms that we are dealing with. And even if you aren't in a severe thunderstorm warning, I mean, these are some pretty intense rains. As I was driving to work about 20 minutes ago, had to pull over and stop for a bit because, I mean, the rain was just blinding. So it is pretty intense rain. Stay home, do not leave your house, you know, and try to drive right now as this line's moving through. It is very difficult to see. Want to make sure that was clear, even if you're not in a warning. Very intense rains, a lot of lightning as well, Pete, I'll tell you that too.
Well, I think you probably didn't bring it up. I mean, once this line does move through, we're pretty much done with this because the cold front's pushing through, the cooler, drier air is working its way in. And again, we're just going to keep focusing on this. We're looking at Buckner and straight up north into areas of just into Clay County. And okay,
That's a good sign.
that's encouraging. I mean, I know it's still, there's some markings there, but it's nothing like it was, 20, 25 minutes ago when it was well defined, the rotation in that and the little spin up that we had. But if those of you, and I get it, people, it is frightening to have sirens go off in locations. It's frightening to hear of us being on TV talking about rotation of a tornado. But the thing is, you know your safety precautions, you know where to go. If some of you are still in a basement, you're watching us and so forth, you know what, stay there. If you feel safer until this moves on through, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to caution on that side and then do so.
Pete, I did want to give you a heads up. National Weather Service in chat, they are not planning on extending this warning once it expires at 12:30.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We're looking at it. So go a little farther out again, if you don't mind, Brittany. Let's kind of look at this line again. That way we can actually say, even though there's a little bit of rainfall there, I'm going to say northwest Johnson County, Kansas. That may be the last of the thunderstorm activity you're going to get. Now, we don't see anything severity with that, but once you go like the Lawrence, I mean, Lawrence is done for the night. I mean, Lawrence, you can rest assured, you're not going to get any more thunderstorm activity. This line is pretty much the finale of this setup that we've had to watch all day long. And reflecting back, Brittany and I pointed this out last Sunday, about the day we need to watch. Of all those rain chances we had and the showers and thunderstorms, this Friday night looked the most unsettling and in ingredients coming together to produce a severe weather threat. And the models have done a great job in doing this, and that's why it also allowed us to prepare, and Busby had that plan charted out of who's going to be here and watch this. So just know that someone's here around the clock. Brian is still here, helping us out behind the scenes. We appreciate that, Brian. Great
Part
chief.
of the job, part of the job. But
All
still
right.
doing some analysis.
Go ahead.
It still appears that the line is broken. There's not as much in the way of concentration as far as the rotation is concerned. And so that bodes well, but still want to talk to our friends in Richmond, our friends in Lexington, even downstream toward Carrollton. It's still heading toward you, and it may once again reorganize, but right now I'm thinking because we had so much heavy rain earlier today, the atmosphere has been worked over, so it's going to be very difficult to overcome that, although without getting too geeky or too technical, the low-level jet's starting to kick in tonight, hoping that this stuff will still kind of calm down over the next 15 minutes or so.
And you mentioned something earlier, Brian. You talked about how the tornado watches they started like bookends with Kansas City in the middle, and then everything started, tornado watches filled in the rest of it. They did a great job.
They did.
They obviously thought maybe this line that was going to come through would do some spin ups.
That's very true.
And you know what? I got to give the Storm Prediction Center credit. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that where you work your way out and towards in, but that's exactly, and by the time you and Neville did the 9 o'clock news, right?
Right.
The whole area was all under tornado watch.
I think they decided to cast a large net and then fine-tune it as they saw necessary, but also didn't want to overwarn. So they think they waited until it made more sense. And that's, again, that bodes well for them.
Well, and then we end up getting the tornado warning for the evening, the late evening, right in the heart of the metro of Kansas City. So things have really come together, and we've not had any confirmation yet if there really was one that touched the ground on this. We'll try to get that information in. However, the most important part was the rotation was detected, the tornado warning was issued, it allowed people to get time to get prepared with this line moving on through. And still waiting for this area to weaken a little bit, but it looks like it's still holding together pretty well when it comes to precipitation-wise.
I do want to note, Pete, we are keeping an eye on some of those storms that are forming ahead of the line. So think near Odessa, Higginsville. Yeah, National Weather Service is keeping a close eye on those since it is, ahead of that main cold front. And I believe
Okay.
they just expired the warning. I'm just confirming that, though. I think it's taking a second for our system to accept
Yeah,
that.
when you start getting the isolated thunderstorms, kind of want to keep an eye on those also. But once this is kind of like it's a strong caboose, but it's kind of like the caboose area of this whole setup that we've had to watch and deal with all day today, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing. I mean, look at that. I mean, this is what we had earlier today. It's been a soggy day. You had those we had thunderstorms early in the early morning hours, right before sunrise on your Friday. And then middle of the day, some of you got some scattered thunderstorms. We knew that the window was going to be late afternoon into late evening hours where the biggest threat was going to be. So the timing of the models, everything has come true. I just wish we didn't have to deal with an actual tornado warning, but we've had to, and this is, we're going to ride this thing out until it's no longer a threat to our area. And when we say area, this is the Kansas City TV market. We're responsible. And then eventually all you see here is going to be moved over to what we call the Columbia television market. But we're going to be here. Someone's here writing it out. Brittany's here, going to be carrying the torch for a while. Of course, first news starts at 5 a.m. That'll go till 9 o'clock. I'll be back in the afternoon to go through and be nice and quiet. Brian?
I'll take over for a bit. You guys are going to switch microphones and everything a bit here, but I do also, of course, want to highlight that we still have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect. I mean, just look, let me zoom in tight here. Just to the west of Wellington, you're about to get some pretty intense rainfall right now as this is getting ready to push through your area. You can see where the red and pinks are. That is where the rain's falling very hard currently. So imagine a lot of lightning as well. You know what? We haven't turned that on just yet. This has been a very kind of noisy last really several hours. I mean, all day we've had very noisy thunderstorms, but honestly not really showing too much right now within that severe thunderstorm warning polygon. You can see down all the way south to Raymore, where you're seeing those again, the brighter reds around Lee Summit as well. Very intense rainfall. And remember, let me zoom out a bit so you can see this is that whole line along that cold front that we've been telling you about for days now that was going to move through. And this was kind of our big concern is, this is overnight storms moving through the area. A lot of you are sleeping. I know my own family's awake right now. They've been making sure I got to work safe. So I imagine a lot of you are up because either the thunder went off, your phone went off. So thank you, of course, for listening to those warnings and tuning into KMBC. And Brian, let me know whenever you are ready to go and whenever you want me to zoom in and whatnot. We haven't looked at that rotation in a while. So
Go right ahead. I was just looking at some and gathering some of the reports. So thanks for you and Pete to step in. And now we'll continue to do the round robin between the three of us, especially. And if you see anything, Pete, that needs warranted or other information coming in, certainly pass it on to me. But right now, this is the last of the warnings set to expire in 5 minutes. But as you saw when we showed you what you normally see on your app, what we call the reflectivity, you still see there's still a lot of rain behind it. So it's still going to be thunder and lightning and something that makes it scary. But one of the things we can do here with our radar system is eliminate all the clutter, if you will, eliminate all the colors, and talk about what portion of the storm is the most dangerous that could spin once again. But right now, what you're seeing here on First Alert Radar is the leading edge, which is now, just so you get your bearings, there's Buckner, there's Blue Springs. So I'm going to give the first alert out toward Blue Springs, out toward the Plaza, Brookside, downtown, 18th and Vine, Power and Light, also up north toward Worlds of Fun, also toward Liberty, even Kearney. Yeah, getting rain, but that's not the most important part of the storm. And actually, let's go a little farther north too, Brittany, if you don't mind, just to show once again, Plattsburgh, you're pretty much in the clear as well. And that's part of the reason why we do the coverage we do. We certainly want to give you that first alert when it's heading toward you, but we also want to let you know when you can breathe a sigh of relief. And that's exactly what's happening. And this is the line that's moving through. And once it does, that's going to be it for the chances of severe weather. And Brittany, anytime if you have new information, certainly interrupt me.
Yes.
But as mentioned, there are a couple renegades that are moving ahead of the line, and the Weather Service is looking at those. And that's one thing we don't like. We've been talking about this for several hours now, what we call discrete cells that aren't in the pack. They are lone wolves, if you will, and they have some growing that they can do, especially if they're out on their own and they can feed on some leftover warm, moist air they could develop and they could spin. Again, as I was talking about 5-10 minutes ago, low-level jet is one of the other ingredients that can make these things go on for the overnight hours. So that's why we're still on the air, to just see if these are going to take some shape. This is now near Higginsville, out toward Lafayette County. But notice how it goes from a pale yellow to almost a red pretty quickly, and that was only within 5-10 minutes time. So the atmosphere is not totally done yet. It is not tuckered out. There's still some residual, albeit limited, moisture and albeit limited sort of energy that's available for this to feed on, especially ahead of the main line itself. But still, the rain itself is still going on in Buckner, also, as I mentioned, in Blue Springs. Odessa, still stay in your safe area. I know it's a severe thunderstorm warning, and it is in effect for another 2 minutes or so. And as we mentioned before, this is the same cluster or same part of the line that produced the tornado warning. And I was looking at some of the video that's coming in here, and it looks like there were some pretty distinct power flashes that were seen close to the city itself. And have not seen any reports coming into the newsroom with regard to damage from that area, but I'm sure when the sun comes back out, the clouds leave, and assessment can be done, we may see some evidence of a brief touchdown. And as mentioned, these were not going to be on the ground for hours on end, but still, it is part of the line that was the same cool front, or cold front I should say, that Nick was on storm tracking earlier during our newscast when he was up in northwest Missouri, northeast Kansas as well, near Mound City. And he was also a little concerned that later on tonight, closer to the midnight hours, when we see it moving through the metro itself or through the city, and it's still holding together, the line is, not any reports of hail necessarily. And that's the other thing we said. Remember, we were showing you that scoreboard, that wind would be the #1 threat, hail #2, tornadoes, we said, would be a low threat. And that makes sense because only one part of this line even had any inkling of being an organized rotation. And so when we say that we're talking maybe 1 or 2 as opposed to the whole line, that's exactly what seems to be panning out. Hail tracker, yeah, that just shows you within that warning anything that you guys can see over there?
Yeah, there was nothing. That's why you popped up. You mentioned hail, and I figured I'd pop that up. Not seeing really anything with hail tracker, at least picking anything up.
And the rotation, I know Pete's over there as well. Anything you two saw with regard to the rotation? Or is that also just kind of elongated and strung out?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything specific anymore. I will say over the last 15 minutes, I had this kind of loop for a bit. Let me zoom on in. Oh, there's a warning. It's gone. It officially expired now that it's 12:30.
Yeah.
But let me loop this for 15 minutes so you can see how even the colors within that, what was a warned storm, slowly start to fade away. So the intensity is it's losing that intensity, and that's why the National Weather Service decided to go ahead and expire that warning.
Okay. Any new reports coming in from the National Weather Service? Let me just step over to our computer system over here. I haven't seen that many others that are coming through, but just wanted to double check and make sure that we now have some of the watches, or the counties that were under the watches, being lifted as well. And it looks like, yeah, as you mentioned, that last warning has been set to expire at 12:30, and they're not anticipating or even considering going down and downstream with that for that warning. So things may be winding down just a little bit. And as mentioned, it's ironic that this is happening on the anniversary of the Oak Grove tornado, maybe a little later in the course of the day, since it happened closer to what, the 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock time frame as opposed to 10 o'clock to midnight. But this is March. This is March 6th, and now March 7th, of course. But this is the start of our first of 2 severe weather seasons. As winter goes away, spring comes in. That's #1, March, April, May. The second one, as fall is leaving and winter's trying to make a resurgence, that would be the second one we have, which is usually toward September, October, November. So because we're in the center of the country, we're along the I-70 corridor, we can get the colder air that comes down from Canada, hangs out, or just kind of brushes, or we get the warm air that comes up from the Gulf and also the south. And because we're right in the center of the country, we get a lot more mixing than other parts of the country. Down Brownsville, Texas, always hot. International Falls, always cold. Middle, there we get the mix, which is why we can have 3 or 4 seasons within 1 week. But speaking of weak, W-E-A-K, these thunderstorms are not weak by any means, but they are still holding together as this line, which is pretty close to the front, but there were a couple that decided to jump the gun. They're a little ahead of it, and that was out toward Lafayette County, not holding as much. And that's another term that you hear us meteorologists say. It's called pulsing. Sometimes these thunderstorms get really strong and mature, and then when they get tuckered out, they not collapse necessarily, but they do get cooler and they sometimes get weaker. And so we're kind of seeing that same sort of life cycle, if you will, happening over eastern portions of Lafayette County. But now from Chillicothe down toward Richmond, just east of Blue Springs, so that's going to be close to Oak Grove, but as mentioned, not seeing rotation, Oak Grove. I know this is a sore subject for you when you're talking about March 6th, but right now I'm not seeing anything that's organized there. Let's go a little farther south toward Lee Summit. That's now east of you, and also heading toward Raymore, down toward Harrisonville. So that's not too far away from Pleasant Hill as well, with the leading edge of the line. And then lighter showers that are farther to the west toward Aubrey, and also going down, that'd be toward Lewisburg, back on the Kansas side. Showers, yes. Thunder, lightning, yes. But not that rotation, not that organization. It seems to be just the leading edge that's going through. Anything that you guys have been seeing out there as far as analysis is concerned? I know you guys are sharing a microphone, but let me know if that is the case. I'm just going to get a sip of water, be right back.
Well, as the data keeps coming in, it's actually encouraging. Basically, that looks like a lot of this is also weakening, which is good. The rotation has about disappeared, especially in that one area. I mean, I know some of you are getting some heavy rainfall right now and still thunderstorm activity, but from our point of view and looking deeper inside these thunderstorms, it's a good sign to see them weakening a bit as this line continues to move on through. And once this line passes by your town, you're pretty much in the clear for the night. You might still a couple more rumbles or something, but the threat of severe weather is slowly dropping for really everyone as these things weaken.
And I will throw this into a loop again just to show you kind of how everything's been changing over the last 15 minutes. So you see that warning flash on, remember that expired about 4 minutes ago, but I do want to show you a zoomed in view around the metro. Notice how, Shawnee, Overland Park, you still are hearing the rumbles of thunder, still dealing with some rain behind that main line. This is kind of the last bit that you'll see. Give it a few more minutes and then you're going to be seeing the last of this system move through and you'll start to dry out. So that's good to see that even around, Johnson County, almost downtown Kansas City, you're going to start to see drier conditions pretty soon here within just, a matter of minutes as this line continues to move pretty fast to the east right now, Pete.
Yeah, it's going to take some time too. The good news about this and severe weathers like this, I know we can be really busy. This is the time of year to be prepared. But once this moves through, the atmosphere stabilizes in our area for at least 2 days or so. So in other words, you'll have a nice break this weekend, but then we have another round of maybe some showers, I think Tuesday. So that's our next target that we're going to be looking at. But we take it one day at a time. We try to give you a heads up like we did last weekend about tonight. This is just know your safety routine. Good time to get the KMBC app on your phone because it will not only give you the radar, but it will alert you ahead of time if what storms are heading your direction and how far away they are. Plus, you can also watch us live doing this coverage even on that app. So I use it all the time myself when I'm not here, so it's a very reliable thing. I'm encouraged. I'm glad so far that everything's showing the weakening signs.
Watching that small little storm getting ready to move into Saline County right now that National Weather Service was watching. Remember they were talking about those little cells that were bubbling up ahead of that main line, and it looks like it was strengthening for a bit, but not really still seeing anything concerning out of that right now, at least looking at that really quickly.
No, that's a good sized thunderstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you get them a little isolated like that also.
So what we're going to do, I just want to kind of wrap things up since as of 12:30, that was the warning, talking to the folks who actually make the warnings, the National Weather Service. They don't see any need to go farther downstream with the line because things aren't as organized as they were even an hour ago. So let's put everybody's mind at ease by talking about the big picture, then we'll zoom it back into that one specific cell. So this is First Alert Live Radar. And you can see the weekend team there. They're going to get ready for later on today. And they have it easier because this stuff is out for Brittany's shift in the morning, maybe fog she's going to have to deal with. And by the time Pete comes in, gets some sleep, and comes back this afternoon, it should be much cooler, not as windy, and certainly not as turbulent. So here it is. This is now the front. Right along I-35, now to the east of even Wood Heights, now over the western portions of Ray County. You're still going to hear thunder and see lightning, but as far as the organization up there, that's probably not the case. Also, that can also be the same for, say, Chillicothe. As we go farther south along county line between Jackson County, western Wyandotte County, or Lafayette County, I should say, still some heavier downpours, and then going down toward Cass County, Harrisonville, Pleasant Hill, and others, not as organized. It's not solid like it was this morning. There are some patches where it is not necessarily as heavy. And then we trail over the southernmost portion of our viewing area. That would be down toward Bates County, Lynn County on the Kansas side, a couple stray showers, a couple thunderstorms as well. Nothing organized, nothing severe. And also, let me speak to the folks out from Topeka to Lawrence, Johnson County, Miami County, Franklin County, up toward Atchison City. You're in the clear for a while because the system continues to move off to the east. Even St. Joseph, you're also in the clear for the time being. Lighter showers still showing up Livingston County and going farther to the east. I did see some flashing down to the south, and I bet you that's going to be more for flooding concerns.
Yeah, it looks like it's a flood warning.
Yeah, those are flood warnings even out of our viewing area, but that's the other thing they may have to deal with. And you probably picked up a good inch, 2 inches earlier today, so you still see that's a possibility, at least farther south for them. We're going to continue to dry out as the evening goes on. We kind of put a timeline that we said maybe by 1 o'clock to 2 it would be totally out of our viewing area, and that seems to be the way it's going to pan out. But I will say probably even before that happens, the threat of severe weather seems to be coming down as well. I've not seen any sort of coordination from Pleasant Hill or Topeka saying that the Storm Prediction Center has any appetite to make this watch go any longer than 1 in the morning. If anything, they may allow it not only to expire, but they may pull the plug earlier. I know you guys are looking at chat over there to see if there's anything to that inkling. But the line is not as organized as it was. It is starting to whittle itself away. We're not seeing as much organization. And the thing I mentioned maybe about 40 minutes ago is because the atmosphere has been worked over. Remember, this is the same area that had all that rain earlier. And remember, we didn't see that much sunshine this afternoon. And those are two things that were always playing in our favor. So now I'm thinking it's very difficult for even these leftover showers and thunderstorms to really populate and get strong once again to even warrant warnings. I'm hoping I didn't jinx it. But right now it does not look like all that is coming together. And again, if you guys see something different, that's one good thing about having 6 meteorologists with different schoolings and different ways of attacking the same problem. If you see something I'm missing, please let me know. But at this point in time, it looks like things are starting to calm down. Still a little noisy, still maybe some ponding on the roads, but I have not seen any wind reports coming in from anybody. I certainly haven't seen rotation. One thing I would want to check, though, and I don't know if we can do it cleanly, power outages.
Oh.
Because we did have, obviously, what seemed to be touchdowns, and to see if that is the case, because obviously you're in the dark. Hopefully you have the KMBC 9 News app. You have other ways of getting the information, but actually Pete's going into the Weather Center to see if that is the case, maybe on our other radar system to see if that is the case. But in the short term, things are calming down, and so hopefully we're letting you know that we try to let everybody know exactly when the danger was around and when it was starting to subside, and that certainly seems to be the case. So out toward, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brittany. Were you going to say something?
I know where to get that information for you. It should be up here, thanks to our very amazing Neville. Let's see, I'm pretty sure power outages is an option here.
Power outages. Spotty, I'm looking at the other monitor system that's behind you. See the map behind you in the big monitor.
Oh.
There you go. You know, the other behind you. No, you can still stay in the picture. That's of the 6-county area, and that shading means spotty. So there seem to be some power outages that are out there. I'm not sure if somebody could pull up Evergy just to see how many we're talking, but there seem to be some that are out there. And hopefully they're going to be working through the night to get power restored. And also, obviously, with daybreak, we're going to see what was damaged, if anything at all, if there were any proverbial touchdowns on the Kansas side, because there were a few reports near Shawnee, near Miriam, out near Overland Park, farther west of that, and then some in the heart of the city, near the World War I Museum, near 18th and Vine, near Crown Center. And so with daybreak, we may try to go out there, and I know we have a couple of crews. Some of our photojournalists are going to try to make a quick sweep, and we'll have that, obviously, if that information comes in, on KMBC 9 News tomorrow morning, starting at 5 with Eric Graves and meteorologist Brittany Foster, who will be there. Right now, though, it seems, yeah, they're the power outages, once again concentrated from Clay County toward Jackson, parts of Wyandotte and Johnson County, pretty much there, and also up toward Harrison County, up toward Bethany. Otherwise, hopefully the lights are still on where you are. So this is probably going to wrap up our continuing coverage, and so glad that you stuck with us, and so glad that we were able to analyze that tornado, that potential tornado touchdown, a couple of them, but the tornado warning that was out for the heart of the city. And of course, we'll have a complete wrap-up coming out on First News in the morning and on KMBC 9 News in the evening. We're going to see the weekend meteorologists, both Brittany Foster in the morning and Pete Grigsby in the evening. For now, that's the very latest from the First Alert Weather Center. We now return you to regular programming.